I realized that before we're 7 years old, we have all these experiences, and every human has them. And when we start to realize that it's those experiences that have hardwired, and that is now 97% of how you respond to the world around you, comes from those experiences. And it's on autopilot. You're like, nobody really wants to be in a bunch of debt. Nobody really wants to have spending hangovers. No one really doesn't want to be fiscally prudent because it creates struggle and challenges for us. And I don't care if you make $40,000 a year or $1 million a year, it's the same human patterning. It's just more or less zeros. And so when I started to realize that it didn't matter what your net worth was or what your income was, and we all had the same human patterning, I know as a financial planner to dig down into what was the household you grew up in about money, and how was the community you grew up in, and what are those stories that are hardwired into your DNA that actually cause you to emotionally respond to your financial situation. And then we get married and we have partners and we add that into the mix, and now you've got two sets, and
Yeah.
then your children grow up, and then now you've got other hardwiring because they didn't all grow up at the same period of time when you were in your learning curve. So it goes deep.
So you got some hardwiring before you're seven, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then what happens with the hardwiring, or however you want to say it, the role models, the experiences that you have after that? Is it kind of locked in? By the time you're 7 years old, or
Yeah,
can
it
it
is
actually
locked in.
like it is really you can't learn new habits to overcome bad habits?
You can
Or
learn new habits. Well, that's the whole process of the patterning that I walk people through is you create a financial plan that is based on going, here's who you are, here's how you're wired. Now, this is how we hijack that natural response system and build a financial plan that's built on a sustainable platform, as opposed to one that continues to create leaky containers where money of yours is going out the door because you've not created a solid foundation for yourself. And if anyone wants to read Dr. Bruce Lipton, he wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. And this is where my research comes from in terms of how our actual physical biology is wired that way from those experiences.
and then you've basically taken this and proven it with your clients.
Yes. Yes. My second
So
book, Awaken Your Wealth, was the process that I walk clients through to actually circumvent that hard wiring so that you can then create the financial life that you desire.
wow. So can you give me a before and after story? I'm dying for one of those.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask you for several stories, but you go ahead and start with whatever one you want, and then I'm going to
Sure.
maybe ask for specifics because I love stories,
Yep.
before and after, even if the after failed, and
Right.
then why
Yeah,
it
for
fails.
sure.
Because you probably had
Right.
some of those where you went in, you did your deal, but they didn't do their side of the equation. So
Sure. Well, we're all human. I always talk about, well, you fell off the horse. Okay, get back on and start riding again, right? Because typically, if someone has a pattern of credit card debt, as an example, what happens is they'll come to me, they'll be like, okay, I'm done with this credit cycle. I make really good money, but I can't seem to get out of my $40,000 to $45,000 of credit card debt, and I can't seem to stop this spending hangover. Because what's happening is we're creating this debt and we're creating this credit card balance issue because we're trying to create happiness in our life by spending. But the thing is that happiness never comes from something outside of ourselves. You have to find happiness from within. And the only way you find happiness from within is to actually be who you were meant to be in this world. And so many people are negotiating that away for a good paycheck because they're not doing something that they're passionate about. They're not doing something that they love. And so then what happens is you start spending more and you got to go on bigger vacations because you need a break from the life you're creating from yourself because you don't actually really like the life that you're living most hours of the day. And so, or the marriages that you're in, or pick it, right? So I'll give you an example. So I have this one client. When I first met them, they lived way out in the suburbs in the Chicagoland area. And I said, okay, well, you work all these hours, you leave before your daughters get up in the morning and they're in bed by the time you get home. Like, my job is to question that. So I would question going, do you want to live your girl's life like this? Like, is that what you want? Because if that's what you want, that's okay. You might be more than happy working and doing all that. And the answer was absolutely not. But couldn't afford a house closer to the city at the time. At least this is the story because grew up with a single mom, was on food stamps some of the times. So it's like, no, I can't do that. I got to be fiscally prudent. I'm not going to turn out like my mom. I'm not going to turn out like my divorced parent. I'm not going to do it. Well, so we found a way of how to only be 10 miles from the office as opposed to 25 miles from the office. We bought the dream home that they always wanted, figured out a way how to do it. So then every night was reading his girls stories to bed, like, because they were still little. And like that increased his quality of life. But the bigger dream was actually they really wanted to live on the land and in a ranch. So I kept pressing him like, okay, what is this? But then I was starting to realize that he was absolutely miserable at his job because on 24/7. And
Oh,
and this is a college graduate, but when the boss called, the boss called. And I
yeah.
go, "So, what's your number?" And he's like, "What do you mean, what's my number?" I go, "Well, you clearly are not loving the place that you're working at. You love the work that you do, but not the people you work for because they expect you to be accessible 24/7. And that doesn't match the quality of life that you told me that you want with your children, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in the middle of reading that story and the boss calls, you're answering the boss and you're letting your daughter wait, right? This
Yeah.
is not what he wanted. But yet success and career was all about it, right?
Yeah.
Turns around and then his number was first was 7 million. Okay, once I have 7 million, then I'm out. And I'm like, okay. And then it went down to 6, then it went down to 5. And then before he got to 5, he was actually let go from his job because when you know you're not in alignment with something, if you don't make the shift in your life, life tends to make the shift for you. And I can give many examples of people that delayed that change in their career and then the career changed it for them. And because they were let go, downsizing, whatever. And so I said, okay, now it's time to go for that big dream that you wanted. Was getting all these big offers for out of town, but the dream was the ranch, right? So wanted to go
Yeah.
out west.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
want to be here. Took a job that was a third of the income than he could have gotten on the East Coast and got the ranch, got the dream.
Where's
Then
the ranch?
COVID happened outside of Denver, Colorado.
Okay. Okay.
And didn't want to, but COVID then happened.
Yeah.
And these firms out east that were willing to pay triple the price now would let people work remote for that triple income. So got the ranch first, then got the big job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it didn't seem like it aligned at first, but what he did is he chose himself. That was the big piece here. He aligned life with what his heart really desired, and then trying to formulate a plan based on this kid grew up on food stamps, lots of financial scarcity in his childhood.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do I not respond from a scarce standpoint, even though I'm making a healthy 6-figure income?
Yeah.
And that was building the plan all around that. And we have to remember, we're not going to get it tomorrow. It's a process. Like allow yourself to be on the bridge. But the key is continue to dream the bigger dream. And it's all about aligning with your heart and your soul. Because if you don't, and this is where it comes to my work with Deepak Chopra through the years, is that disease then develops in your body when you don't align with self. Because there's a disconnect, there's a dis-ease in how you're plugging into the world. And it's about aligning those things. And to me, that's the only way that you win in life and have a sustainable win. Do you want to experience free coaching based on my 25 plus years as being a financial planner and ask me any question that you want to ask me to help you get past that hurdle in your financial world? I run these free workshops every other month to start to open you up to start to help you get to this next place. The information for my free workshop, click the link below and register, and I'll see you on the next workshop.